Well, hey, beautiful people. Welcome back to a new season of The Real Dish, where we're dishing up food, wellness, and feeling truly alive in this crazy, delicious world. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Chef Maria, the Fit Foodie. And ooh, today we are going to dive deep into one of the most intoxicating, fleeting, mysterious, and rare culinary treasures on earth. I just got back from Piedmont, Italy, where I attended the 95th Fiera Internazionale Tartufo Bianco d'Alba, or the International White Truffle Festival of Alba. Yes, the festival dedicated to the glistening unicorn of gastronomy, Tuber magnatum pico, the white truffle. And let me tell you, my senses are still recovering and my taste buds are salivating right now just thinking about it in the best way possible. I learned so much about not only the flavor and use of this uber tuber luxury ingredient, but also how remarkably entwined it is with Italian culture, history, and the relationship between man and dog. So, today we're going to talk about what makes truffles so irresistible, some really surprising qualities of truffles that maybe you didn't know anything about, like they actually don't have a flavor. Hmm, I'll tell you more about that. How to choose, store, and savor them, the art of foraging with the legendary truffle hunters, how to use them in your dishes like a chef, and yes, the surprising ways they're good for your health. So, are you ready to dig in or dig up? Let's dive in. If you're eating healthy but still feel low energy, inflamed, or like your meals are missing something, it might be that you're not getting enough micronutrients. And that's exactly why I created Superfood Sprinkle. It's my all-in-one flavor and health-forward seasoning made with real functional ingredients like the amazing black cumin, turmeric, sesame seeds, brain-healthy mushrooms, kelp, nutritional yeast, and so much more. It isn't fairy dust, and it's not a supplement that you forgot to take. It's the easiest way to upgrade whatever you're already eating: eggs, veggies, bowls, avocado toast, and even popcorn. Sprinkle it on, and suddenly your food works for you. More flavor, more nutrients, and less effort. Because eating well shouldn't feel complicated, it should feel empowering. Now, if you head to chefmaria.com and use the code REALDISH, you'll get a special listener bonus. It's a sprinkle and a big shift. Now, what are you waiting for? Get some sprinkle in your life. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to The Real Dish. This is the podcast where we serve up real conversations about food, health, and everything in between. I'm your host, Chef Maria, the Fit Foodie, and each week we'll explore the stories behind the food we eat, the latest nutrition trends, and the science behind healthy living for the whole you. We'll dive into topics like sustainable agriculture, mindful eating, culinary traditions from around the world, and practical tips for incorporating healthier habits into your daily life so you could go crush it. But we're not just here to talk about kale salads and superfoods, okay? Although we'll certainly cover things along those lines, The Real Dish is all about keeping it real and exploring the full spectrum of food and nutrition. No bull allowed. From the joy of indulging in your favorite comfort foods to navigating the challenges of healthy eating, dietary restrictions, and food allergies, because it is a minefield out there. So grab a seat at the table and let's dish out some food for thought together. You're finally going to find something to sink your teeth into right here on The Real Dish. Now grab a seat at the chef's table and let's dig in. So let's talk about the sensory world of truffles. When you walk into the festival tents in Alba, the air does something to you. It's earthy, it's sultry, and it's almost primal. It's like the forest floor after a rainstorm, mixed with a whisper of garlic, honey, and musk. Maybe a little cheese. And here's the wild part: truffles don't actually taste like anything. That's right. Did I just rock your world? There is no flavor to an actual truffle. Well, not really, because what you're experiencing is pure aroma, and it's delivered through powerful volatile organic compounds that rise up into your nose and hit your olfactory receptors like a love letter from planet Earth. So think of it this way: truffles are not something to actually taste, they are something to experience with all of your senses. And you don't need a lot because they just show up and everyone pays attention. Now, here's the part that I want you to really understand is that when your nose does all of the heavy lifting, taking care of the truffle and elevating it to its ultimate use and using the truffle within the designated time period is super critical. And here's what I learned at the festival: that white truffles can contain over 100 aromatic compounds. So all of those work together to deliver different experiences. And humans detect them differently because we're all different. Some smell cheese, some smell forest, some smell musk, but everyone smells delicate umami flavors through their nose. And these aromas are literally lost by the hour. So the clock starts ticking the moment that they're unearthed. Now, here's what truffle is not. A lot of people are surprised that when you buy truffle oil or truffle salt or truffle butter or truffle cheese, and they think, wow, this tastes so truffly. I hate to break it to you, but chances are that this wasn't real truffle, because truffles have such a short lifespan. They're super seasonal. They only show up, at least the white truffles only show up between October and December. So they're really a seasonal religion. And people line up at dawn for auctions. Chefs build their entire menus around them, and locals plan their year around truffle season. But if you ask any truffle expert in the region whether they use truffle oil, you will get a very dramatic Italian hand gesture followed by a very emphatic no, because those products contain compounds, something called 2,4 dithiapentane. And this is a synthetic compound that's used to mimic the aroma of white truffles. It's chemically engineered in a lab. And listen, it is a chemical. I mean, water is a chemical, so not all chemicals are bad. But this one is often harsh and it's overpowering. And I'm going to tell you something I found out the hard way, because I decided, well, if I'm not going to be able to carry a truffle home, because the truth is, after visiting Alba, we spent another, almost 2 weeks in Italy. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to get it home and actually be able to use it. So I bought some truffle salt. And that truffle salt permeated everything, every piece of clothing in our bag. It permeated the hotel room. I mean, it was like everything stank. And I love a white truffle, but after that, I was kinda, like, over it. Because the truth is it wasn't real. So, if it's truffle oil, it's fake. If it's truffle salt, it's usually fake. If it's truffle butter, it's often fake, and truffle popcorn at the movie theater, definitely fake. Anything with a huge truffle aroma is probably synthetic. The real aroma of white truffle is actually quite subtle, and it's fleeting and it's layered. It's a whisper, it's not a hit me in the face like a fog machine at a concert intense. So think of it as a perfume. It's really, really, really very subtle and sexy. So ditch the oil. If you're going to make the oil, make it yourself. And I got to sit down with a true gastronomic treasure, a if you can think of the parallel, somebody who is a super expert at tasting and experiencing truffles at the Truffle Festival. And he said that if you want to make truffle oil, all you have to do is take some good quality olive oil or any carrier oil that you want to infuse, but olive oil, of course, in Italy. And you place the truffle, you put like a little piece of like a cheesecloth or something like that over the oil, and then you sit the truffle on top of it and you wrap everything together, and it will overnight infuse the oil with that flavor. You don't need to add the pieces to it. You just literally need to sit the truffle on top of the container, and it will capture all of that luscious, unctuous aroma. So that's how you do it if you want to make your own oil. But let's get down to business. There's so much more that I learned, and I want to share this with you because I think it's really fascinating if you have a heart for truffles. Let me talk to you for a second, sis. If you're in midlife and thinking, why does what used to work not work anymore? You are not crazy and you're definitely not broken. Your body has changed, your hormones are shifting, and your stress load is different. And trying to follow outdated health advice just leaves you frustrated because I know it did me. And that's exactly why I created my free FIT guide. FIT stands for Fuel, Inspire, and Thrive. And this guide walks you through the simple mindset, nutrition, and lifestyle shifts that actually matter in midlife without extremes, guilt, or burning yourself out. And it's definitely not about shrinking. This is about building strength, energy, confidence, and clarity from the inside out. So your body works with you again. And your brain needs to be on board too. So there's a lot that has to do with that as well. Now, if you want a smarter, more sustainable approach to feeling strong, clear-headed, and energized in this season of life, this is your starting point. You can download the free FIT guide right now at chefmareya.com. That's chef, CHEF, MAREYA.com. It's simple, it's practical, and it meets you exactly where you are. Now, here's what they shared with me, what the experts shared with me, is that when you use real white truffle in your dishes, you never ever cook the truffle. You add the truffle afterwards because the aroma compounds evaporate fast, and heat is the absolute enemy of that aroma. So any Italian chef will tell you if you're cooking with truffle, you're wasting it, and that you want to use it on top of your food with food that complements the flavor of truffle. So think risotto, think vegetables like mushroom, think adding cheese as a complement because it picks up the flavor of the truffle. Truffle is super earthy. It's like, think of it like the forest perfume. So the moment you close your eyes and inhale, it's like a little love letter. So it delivers that subtlety that complements a food. So you don't want something that's super aggressive to begin with in terms of flavor already. And that's why you'll never see truffle really coupled with like a strong seafood flavor or a strong meat flavor because the truffle is just too delicate and complex to really work with something that overpowers it. And the usage of the truffle and how you store it is really like an integral part of experiencing it to its optimal level. You never want to store a truffle in rice or plastic. Rice actually will absorb the moisture and the aroma. It's basically stealing its soul, and we don't want to do that. Instead, we want to wrap it lightly in a paper towel or a cheesecloth, for example. You want to place it in an airtight container and store it refrigerated. And you want to change the paper every day. Now, using it within 3 to 5 days maximum is the rule of thumb. And I'm going to tell you that I smelled some different truffles at day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and even day 7. And the difference between day 4 and day 7 are astronomical. Day 7, basically garbage. It tasted like it's gone off, like there's just something off. Days 1 through 4, really optimal. Day 5, you're kind of pushing it. So time is the enemy. If truffles could talk, they'd say, I'm high maintenance, but I'm so worth it. So use me now. And if you're paying less than the price of a manicure for enough truffle to garnish a dish, it's probably the juice is not worth the squeeze. It's probably not a real truffle because real white truffle is a luxury. The harvest window is short. The weather dramatically affects the yield. Foraging requires trained dogs and skilled hunters, and we're going to get into that in just a second. They can't be farmed. White truffle cannot be farmed. There are some farmed black truffle, but everybody will tell you that white truffle absolutely has to be foraged, and it's very, very territorial and hard to find. And their aroma literally fades by the hour. So when you hear shaved truffle pasta for $18 on a menu, you can bet it's synthetic. Now, when it comes to evaluating the truffles at the festival, I got a crash course on this, and it's a real profession, like the kind that I want in my next life, because it takes a lifetime to learn. But number one is you got to smell it first. If you don't smell first, you're wasting your time. A quality truffle has a strong, clean aroma. It's earthy, it's garlicky, it's musky, and a little cheesy. And if it barely smells, if you're not smelling anything, you've got to pass. It's just not going to be worth the price. And it's pricey. We're going to get into that. Number two is feel for the firmness. It should feel solid, not spongy. Think like a ripe avocado firmness and not an old peach. Number three is you want to look for the marbled veining inside. You won't slice it open at the market. I mean, no vendor is going to slice it open for you because, again, the clock starts ticking. But vendors will provide a sampled cut one to show you, to demonstrate how the veining works. And every truffle hunter will stand by their truffles. In fact, at the Truffle Festival, the reason that so many people go to this festival is because they accredit the truffles, almost like buying a diamond. If the hunter is there representing the truffle, then once you take it to the register to pay for it, they will inspect the truffle and tell you if it's worth buying. So think of it literally as the accreditation of the truffle. Because, I mean, you could easily spend $1,000 on a truffle, no problem. Know that imperfections are normal, and the size of the fungus is not the size of, what I'm trying to say. It doesn't have to be big. A small white truffle can be just as good as a large one. And just like humans, the best ones have a little character. So there's no shame in that fungus game if there's a little bit of, discoloration or just a little bit of, uh, I'm going to just say not smooth or not perfectly shaped. Now, let's talk about the thing everyone whispers, but no one really says out loud. The price, because white truffles, they are basically the Louis Vuitton of the forest floor. And in Piedmont, prices will range anywhere from $6 to $10 per gram for smaller, more common pieces, $12 to $18 per gram for larger and particularly aromatic truffles. And if you want one of those giant competition level beauties, you're looking at over 1,000. I'm going to say $15 to $2,000 easily. and just a shaving. When you go to have a tasting menu in Italy and you get a typical shaving, 5 to 7 grams, you're looking at about $60 to $120 a person. There were some beautiful truffles being shaved over eggs, just very simply cooked eggs. Very common to find truffle on you know, a sunny side up egg with the egg very soft. And those truffle shavings were about 45 euros. So with the current exchange rate sitting right around 60 bucks. Of course, it's the most beautiful garnish ever, and it's worth every cent. But remember, again, time is working against them. So truffles don't appreciate, they depreciate the minute they hit oxygen. So even if you're having a truffle tasting at a restaurant, you want to know when they got those truffles because you may be paying quite a handsome sum for something that is going to be lackluster. Now, let's talk about foraging because the magic underground that it is what fascinated me maybe the most. That relationship between man, the truffle hunter, or what they call the tartufaio, and their dog. And they're really it's a very intimate, I want to say, relationship. Don't take that the wrong way, because there is a respect for the land and there is a respect for the relationship between the truffle hunter and the dog like I've never seen. Now, if you watch the movie Pig, you'll probably be saying to yourself, well, don't they use pigs to sniff out the truffles? Well, the answer is not. No. Dogs are the real MVPs now because they don't try to eat the profits. So the idea of a pig is cute for a movie line, but it's not really how it's done in Italy today, in today's age. Truffle foraging, number one, is an ancient and almost spiritual art. I mean, hunters have been doing this for generations, working the same forests, and they're very territorial about their land. They know the soil, the trees, the weather patterns, and don't you dare try and encroach on that because you will get met with a not so subtle response. They're very territorial and they protect that land because that's their livelihood. Like their lives depend on it, and they will use force. Number two is truffles only grow in hyper specific conditions. They need that symbiotic relationship with the roots of certain trees. And that's normally where they find the truffle. The soil has to just be the right pH. The rainfall matters. So the rainfall of that season has a big role. The temperature matters. The moon cycles. I mean, so many different conditions. You can see why they're so valued. I mean, literally, I mean, you can't just create this environment. It's got to be something that happens from the Lord above. And that's, again, why it's considered such a spiritual art form. Now, training the dogs is a full time job. These pups are athletes and they start at 4 months old. They are prized and revered and treated very respectfully. They work off signals, confidence, intuition, and of course, some treats. So, when you watch the hunter and the dog, it's like watching a dance. It's a slow, patient, elegant dance and interaction between man, nature, and the nose of a very talented canine. And when they unearth a truffle, it's like witnessing a buried treasure come alive. So when you think about the art of foraging, you've got to think it is truly a dance of all of these different conditions converging and hopefully for the love of all things holy coming together to produce something really, really beautiful. Now, cooking with the truffles, let's get into the most exciting part of all of this is cooking and experiencing them. Now, again, we're not actually cooking the truffle. We're cooking for the truffle. Think of it as the ultimate garnish. And we want to elevate the experience of them because they are so delicate. They're like introverts. I kind of relate to a truffle. It's kind of like my, you know, I guess my love language or my no, my personality type is really what I'm talking about. My love personality type. I am a little introverted. I don't like to feel a whole lot of heat on me. I feel really like a lot of pressure on me kind of makes me crumble. I'm a little delicate, but my aroma when when you're using, yeah, okay. I gotta stop. I'm really like taking myself down a weird road. But we want to experience them raw. They are to be used at the very end, and you want to pair them with simple, and I emphasize the word simple, fatty, warm foods that carry a subtle aroma, like fresh pasta, like risotto, like the soft scrambled eggs or sunny side up eggs that I witnessed. Polenta makes a beautiful carrier for a gorgeous white truffle. A butter sauce. Butter is great. Olive oil, certainly a beautiful partner for truffles. A carpaccio would be a good meat choice because carpaccio is just a dried, or like a fresh, excuse me, a fresh meat source is carpaccio. A dried meat like a bresaola could work as well, but the carpaccio is a softer meat, so the texture of it pairs really nicely. You want that nice soft texture with the shaving of white truffle. A burrata. So a burrata, again, you're picking up some of the cheese essence, the aroma of cheese in a nice truffle. So a burrata would go with it, and it's again soft, you want subtle, and you want something that picks up the inherent flavors that pair nicely or are part of the truffle themselves. And here's a chef tip. The warmth of the dish activates the aroma compounds so that they bloom right under your nose. Again, if you held your nose, you would not taste the truffle, and that would be a travesty. So if you've got a cold or you can't smell, don't waste your money. Just don't waste your money. You're not going to experience the truffle at all. So think about that. You want something warm to activate the aroma. Now, portioning, a good serving is about 5 to 7 grams. Honestly, more is more, but if your wallet can handle it, that's something to think about. But 5 to 7 grams is where you're going to get the sweet spot of the experience. And if you, like I said, you can infuse different foods naturally with the truffle, but instead of thinking about shaving it, you just want to store it with it, and they will complement each other and infuse quite beautifully for some instant luxury. And I think that's a great hack for eggs or butter or cheese or oil. Now, let's talk about why truffles are good for you. The health aspect is, of course, for me, where the culinary world meets nutrition. That's kind of my sweet spot. And that's why I love, love, love this aspect. White truffles are a powerhouse of health. They contain antioxidants, anti inflammatory compounds, potential antimicrobial properties. They have beneficial minerals like magnesium, iron, and potassium. And listen, while let's not get it twisted. While you won't eat enough to get your daily vitamin quota unless you're Jeff Bezos, what they do is elevate simple whole foods in a way that brings pleasure and satisfaction and mindfulness to the act of eating. And I think that's a big part of health as well. It requires you to slow down and to eat mindfully and carefully because you want to savor every single bite. And that pleasure has health benefits too. Dopamine is a vitamin, in my opinion. And truffles are naturally low fat, they're low calorie, high flavor, and a little goes a long way. So, here are some final reflections on this experience and enjoying the white truffle. And maybe you want to even think about going to Piedmont, specifically Alba, for the Fiesta Internazionale next year between October and December. And I would highly recommend it. But here's some final reflections from my experience. Being in Piedmont during the truffle season literally felt like stepping into a different rhythm of life. Slower, earthier, more intentional. And there was actually a slow food movement happening, the slow movement happening simultaneously with the festival. So they really do work side by side. And what struck me the most is that the reverence Italians have for not just food, but for nature. There is a symbiotic relationship. And I think the reverence for nature is imperative for us as chefs and foodies and people who love the experience of food. We have to take care of the land in order to make sure that these foods are available for the generations to come. There is a pride in protecting that land, not using pesticides, not using genetically modified ingredients. And again, the respect that happens there is just so admirable. It's not about bioengineering, it's about biology. And we could take a cue from that. The patience that's required to harvest something so elusive, and that there is a communal joy around that food that's seasonal and sacred. I saw it. It was just like I felt like I was part of a whole community's party. And people were out in the streets and they were eating the food, and there were kiosks set up with people showing off their truffles like they were just these little sacred jewels and prized possessions. And I just love the communal nature and that joy around it. It was just really beautiful, something to behold. And it reminded me of, again, why food matters. It's not just to nourish our bodies, but it's our connection to people, to places, and to the planet. And it's a reminder that truffles are some of the best things in life that take time, mystery, and a little dirt under your nails. So, with that, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the intoxicating world of white truffles. And if you're now craving pasta, butter, and a golden rain of truffle shavings, same, same. And if you enjoyed this episode, would you share it with someone who needs a little culinary adventure in their lives? I am so thrilled to share with you that I'm going to be opening up some new hosted, curated culinary adventures where we're going to get to travel together. And if you've ever wanted to forage in Italy together, listen, say the word. I'm already packing my boots for the next season. And make sure to subscribe, hit the subscribe button on the podcast, and come share this journey with me at www.chefmaria.com/the real dish. That is where I'm going to be posting all kinds of information on these new culinary adventures coming up in the new year. So for now, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and join me next time on The Real Dish, where we will keep uncovering the flavors of life that make it oh so rich. And it's my pleasure, and I know you have the choice of a lot of different places to listen, but it's my pleasure to have you here at the chef's table. And I will see you really soon. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal health advice. We are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from the use of this podcast. This podcast is not intended to replace professional medical advice, and the views expressed in this podcast may not be those of the host or the management. Hey, it's Chef Maria, and thank you so much for tuning into The Real Dish. It means a lot to me that you're here. I hope today's episode has inspired you to take some proactive steps towards a healthier and happier you. Because just remember, bite-sized changes can lead to big transformations. But before you go, would you do me a big favor? If you found value in this episode, would you share it with 2 of your closest friends and hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode? And if you really want to make this girl's day, would you leave a 5-star review? I do hear an angel gets its wings every time you do that. But really, this helps us spread the message of real life wellness to even more listeners. And everybody could use a healthy portion of that, right? Now, until next time, remember, you are the chef of your own kitchen. So feed your life well, make good decisions, prioritize your well-being, and remember, you need to take care of you because we only get one of you and you are a gift to everyone around you. So until next week, this is Chef Maria signing off. And just remember, we're here to cook up a good time every single week. We'll see you soon.